Last week, I didn't know Halo 5 had a super jump. Today, I've got some probably bad advice for how to master it quickly. Hey YouTube, it's your boy Zach coming to you live from a Mario Maker 2 dungeon, and today I'm going to teach you how to do the super jump. But first and foremost, I'm no pro, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Also, as a result of that, all my techniques can be done with just a regular Xbox controller and my Riticulous button setup. If you'd like to give this button scheme a try, there's a link in the description for how to set it up. No matter your buttons, performing the super jump requires that you turn off both the toggle crouch and the auto stabilize features. So let's update these controller settings before we begin. One more critical tip. When learning these new maneuvers, you're asking your fingers to do things they've never done before. This often leads to tensing up, which can make for slow movements. So occasionally check yourself and remember to relax your fingers. They'll eventually get it right, and you'll be able to play for much longer. Now, my favorite map for practicing this is Plaza. Start a custom game with no time limit, and no matter where you spawn at, you can learn your first prerequisite skill, the stabilize jump. To perform the stabilize jump, you simply jump and then aim and crouch, then press the sprint button to stabilize. It looks like this. If you repeatedly tap crouch, you'll maintain the peak height longer. Practice both the tapping crouch and the holding crouch stabilize jumps until you've got the hang of them. Next, let's explore what novelties this stabilize jump affords us by making our way to the garbage truck. If you didn't know it, a crouch jump by itself can give you a little extra height to jump on boxes and reach higher ledges. But it doesn't give enough to reach our next goal of clambering on top of the laundromat, whereas the stabilized jump does. First, start moving toward the ledge, then do the hold crouch variant of the stabilized jump while holding jump to clamber the ledge. Note that you do need to be moving forward slightly to reach the ledge, but not much. When you can clamber up with reasonable consistency, let's head over to the lift area to practice the thrust slide. Here, you'll start at either end, move forward, then sprint, thrust, and finally crouch. After performing the sprint, notice this warning indicator in the top right. You can't use the thrust slide again until this goes away. This technique helps to maneuver quickly and can even be used when falling from a sprinting jump. Run back and forth practicing both variants, and once you've gotten the hang of them, let's head on up the lift to the cinema to practice the thrust slide into a jump. This, as the name suggests, is just a thrust slide with a jump at the end. When you do everything perfectly, you should be able to clear this gap without a clamber. Then, make a loop around a cafe column to set yourself up for the return thrust slide, which will require a clamber in this direction. Also, notice the cinema platform is shorter than the hotel platform, which means you have to condense your movements to perform the thrust slide jump from this side. On the hotel platform side, the extra length makes it easier to perform, but because the cinema platform is higher, you have to time your jump closer to the edge to make the gap. You should be practicing to achieve the perfect forms of these jumps every time, but in the inevitable situation where you don't quite make the jump, you can perform a stabilize to get a bit more distance. And if you really mess up, after that, you can start a ground pound to hover a bit more to reach the ledge. But again, practice for the perfect jumps. Go back and forth running around both the left and right side of the cafe column until you feel ready to attempt the super jump. Head down to the lift and position yourself looking outside. And a quick reminder, relax. Now, start with a sprint, then thrust, crouch, jump, and hold jump, aim and hold crouch, and stabilize. More succinctly, we are performing the condensed thrust slide into a hold crouch stabilize jump with a finishing clamber. Most succinctly, we are performing the super jump with a finishing clamber. Finally, notice that our thrust slide is so condensed that we never quite experience the gliding animation we get from the thrust slide by itself. If you're looking for more of a challenge, try standing just outside the lift area with your back against the wall. The thrust slide is still possible from here, but the shorter distance makes it so that you have to have your movements in precisely. And that's all I have for today. A big shout out goes to Darkscheme, Proximitty, and Shyway for their tutorials, as without them, none of this would have been possible. Links to their videos that I learned from are in the description below. And with that, Zach out.